All right, let's jump right in. It feels like the world is under a ton of pressure right now, doesn't it? Today, we're going to connect the dots, looking past all those individual headlines to see how things like political drama, natural disasters, and these big, ambitious stories are actually all linked together. Someone put it perfectly. They called what's happening a mix of high-stakes negotiations, corporate fallout, and lingering conflicts. And that really hits the nail on the head. So that's going to be our launching point. Let's break down these pressure points and see what's really going on.
Okay, first up, let's talk about power plays and all the problems that come with them. We're going to start in the West, because some really key institutions, I'm talking Washington and London, are seriously under fire right now, facing these huge crises of trust.
So, let's start with a single number, 40. That's how long the US federal government was shut down. And look, this wasn't just some political game. This had major real-world consequences. We're talking thousands of canceled flights because air traffic controllers were stretched to the absolute limit.
And this is where things get really interesting. You've got this kind of split-screen view of American politics. On one side, you have the Senate trying to hammer out a bipartisan deal to fix the mess at home. But on the other side, the White House makes this huge international move, announcing a boycott of the G20. That massive summit with all the world's biggest economies.
And the headlines they didn't stop. It wasn't just the shutdown. There was all the fallout from that G20 boycott, this really surprising idea for a $2,000 dividend for Americans from tariffs, and even the president getting booed at a football game. It all just paints this picture of a really, really wild political moment.
But hey, this kind of institutional turmoil, it wasn't just happening in the US. Let's hop across the Atlantic, because a huge media scandal was blowing up, one that threatened to shake one of the world's most famous broadcasters right to its core.
Yeah, we're talking about the BBC, and this was a monumental crisis for them. It all stemmed from accusations of misleading editing in a documentary, and it was so serious it forced the two top leaders, the Director General and the head of news, to resign. That's a massive blow to an institution that's built entirely on public trust.
All right, let's switch gears and head to our next stop, India. The pressure there is just boiling over, from the streets all the way up to the state level. We're going to look at how people are confronting the government on a whole bunch of fronts, from health to politics to security.
And this table here just lays it all out. You've got so many different challenges happening at once. On one hand, you have a protest over terrible air pollution, and dozens of activists get detained. Then, there's a big controversy over a land deal that kicks off an official investigation. And at the same time, the anti-terrorism squad arrests 3 suspects, stopping an alleged terror plot. I mean, that's 3 totally different flashpoints, all simmering at the same time.
Okay, so we've talked political and social crises. Now let's turn to something else entirely. Massive disasters across Asia. The struggle here wasn't against governments or institutions. It was against the raw, awesome power of nature and just heartbreaking human tragedy out on the water. I mean, the scale of this is it's hard to wrap your head around. Over 1 million people in the Philippines had to leave their homes because of a massive typhoon. And what makes it even worse is that this hit a region that was already reeling from another deadly storm just days before. And while all that was happening, the Earth itself was literally shaking. A powerful 6.9 magnitude earthquake hits off the coast of Japan. Right away, that triggers tsunami advisories, and suddenly, the entire region is on high alert. And then there's this absolutely heartbreaking story at sea. A boat filled with migrants from Myanmar capsizes near Malaysia. We know that 7 people died, but the real gut punch comes from what the authorities said. That one phrase, dozens unaccounted for. Just awful. Even with all this chaos and tragedy, life goes on. Ambition doesn't just stop. So, to finish up, let's look at a couple of stories that point toward the future. One from sports and another from the final frontier, space. So, in the world of sports, there's already major buzz about a potential blockbuster trade in the Indian Premier League. And it's just a great reminder, right, that even when the world feels like it's in crisis mode, the big money business of professional sports just keeps rolling along, always planning for the future. And finally, let's look up to the stars. Blue Origin was all set to launch its huge New Glenn rocket, a real leap forward. But the launch got postponed. And why? The weather. It's kind of funny, isn't it? It's the perfect reminder that no matter how futuristic our dreams get, we're still at the mercy of the oldest forces on Earth. So what does all this mean? As we step back from this whirlwind tour of global events, the real question is for you. When you see all this stuff happening at once, political showdowns, devastating disasters, human tragedies, and these incredible ambitions for the future, you gotta ask yourself, what's the story that's actually gonna define our time? Which of these events will we look back on and say, yeah, that's when everything changed?